know that's fucking right. I love my people, child. We gonna do it. Cause we about to fuck y'all up. That they some ruthless motherfuckers. And rightfully so. They don't take their L's. They don't take their L's. Hey beautiful people, thanks for tuning in to History with Chemistry. Today we're going to be talking about the Jamaican Maroons. If you're new here, go ahead and give me a subscribe. Also tap the link tree in the description to go ahead and give me a follow on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, all that good stuff. But this ain't about that. Let's get into the Jamaican Maroon. Now, if you hear the word maroon when you're talking about history, they're 9 times out of 10 talking about black people. Because for some fucking reason we were referred to as everything but human beings. But anyway, Maroon people specifically though, these were the people that ran away from slavery. These are the ones that were captured. They lived on the plantation, but they decided we ain't gotta put up with this shit, and they decided to create a community within the forests. Now, this was not a phenomenon. A lot of these communities started popping up shortly after the transatlantic slave trade, and this was very prominent in the South and North American territories. Most of the time, if not all the time, they would escape to the jungles, like the nearest jungles or forests, because they were familiar with that terrain. And this also gave them an amazing advantage. Mind you, they're fighting against colonizers who have guns, tanks and bombs and shit. So they had to be tactical, and this was a great tactic. And these communities had militaries, they had healers, they had a shared authority system and shared language. You have to understand these are Africans that didn't all come from the same areas of Africa. They were kind of lumped together and brought here. Not to mention, a lot of the Maroons in Jamaica specifically were natives. So they spoke different languages, but they made it work for themselves and created their own language. The shared authority actually made sure that everyone within the community had a say in what was going to happen next. And one thing that they all agreed on, regardless of the situation, was we are not going back to being slaves. This ain't happening. And if it come down to it, either I die or all of us dies. They were not playing about their humanity, freedom, or autonomy. Something that's largely known when you talk about all Maroon people, regardless of where they were, is that they were amazing at ambushing like slave ships or any type of convoys that were on the ground that were transporting slaves or any type of anything that would help the colonizers. They were so good at ambushing to the point where you didn't even know it was them. Mind you, when the Maroon people would come down to the plantation and try to recruit more people, they would burn the plantation. They would steal food, they would steal cattle, ammunition. They would take whatever they could and then burn the rest. Like, I know that's fucking right. I love my people, child. We gonna do it. Now, you already know this put fear in the white man's heart like a motherfucker, okay? Like, what do you mean? These people ran away. They know everything about us. We know nothing about them, though. What we do know is that they some ruthless motherfuckers. And rightfully so. And when you think about it, like I said, they were going up against some of the largest and most lethal military forces. Great Britain alone was fucking massive. I think at that time they colonized like a third of the world. And they couldn't beat the Maroon people. Child, I'll be scared too. Now that I kind of explained to you who the Maroons were, let's get into the Jamaican Maroons specifically. Because sadly enough, they ruined their own legacy. Now, understand, the Jamaican Maroons are not exempt from anything I just said. They were masters at their craft. And their craft being, we ain't going back to slavery, period. Now, the Maroon people's mission of staying free and the British people's mission of getting their slaves back and returning them to the plantation created a stalemate. Because like I said, the Maroon people were winning every single war, okay? Every battle. Like the Battle of Black Troy in 1697, that happened in Brazil. Or even the famous Republic of Palmares. There were so many different battles that the Maroon people were just not going to be stopped. And the Jamaican Maroons were not exempt from this. A lot of these Maroons that were in the West Indies came from West Africa, and they were the Ashanti people. If you know anything about the Ashanti people, you should know they are fucking fierce. They don't quit, baby. Which aligns well with the Maroon people. I mean, they were literally the reason that slavery ended in this British colony in 1833. All right, let's talk about the Jamaican Maroon War with the British people. And we're going to call them the colonizers. Now, this took place between 1725 and 1740. This could also be considered, this could be called the First Maroon War or the Cocked Hat War. Now, obviously, this war lasted, almost 20 years, right? So it ended in a peace treaty. because the British realized they had no other choice but to just leave these people alone. But one thing about colonizers is that they don't just walk away. They don't take their L's. They don't take their L's, okay? And they decided, okay, we'll give you 1,500 square miles of land in the jungle. We'll try to leave y'all alone, emphasis on try, and give y'all independence in exchange for your loyalty to us. If you see any runaway slaves, you report that to us. Now, this is kind of where there's a turn of events with the Maroon people, because they turned into some snitch bitch. Never mind. They turned into snitches. Granted, they wasn't snitching on everybody. Like, if there was a runaway slave that they could recruit themselves to being a Maroon fighter, you can come with us. But if he wasn't, he got out. And that's exactly what the fuck they did. But the British caught on. So they started, like, doing a bunch of extra shit. Like, monitoring them. They would sneak into their, like, lands, into their communities. They just started doing a bunch of snaky shit. And the Maroon people also started to notice that the British people, the colonizers, was taking back little by little of their land and their rights. Now, I already told you, these Maroon people, they not playing about their humanity and freedom. Don't fuck with us. And the colonizers fucked with them again. Now, the Maroon people, led by a Maroon leader named Kojo, they decided, okay, we gotta show them we not to be fucked with. They went into the Trelawney Mountains and started to attack British forces. Not only that, only half went into the mountains, the other half went into the plantations. Because we're about to fuck y'all up. Now, word had already got around in the plantations that, man, the Maroon people was snitching on us. Like, I wouldn't trust them too much. So they didn't have a whole lot of backup when it came to other Maroon communities that were surrounding, because yes, there was multiple Maroon communities. They didn't have a lot of backup, and only a couple enslaved people that were on the plantations fought on their side. Because you ain't to be trusted. You just snitched on my cousin yesterday. The fuck? Now, this was part of the Second Maroon War, which only lasted about a year from 1795 to 1796, because another peace treaty was promised, signed, whatever you want to call it. At this point, the Maroon people outskilled the British, but the British outgunned the Maroon people. And they had them surrounded. There was nowhere else to go. With the Maroon people not having a lot of allies because they turned into snitches, they kind of started to realize we're diminishing in numbers and we might have to back down. But we not going back to the fucking plantation. And they was dead set on that. So they sat down with the British, like, okay, what you got to say? And at this point, the British government that was taking over Jamaica was just over it. Like, we can't trust these motherfuckers, first of all. Like, I already know where the fuck the British was at. It was like, we got to get these niggas off our land. Mind you, this ain't your shit. Now, on December 21st, 1796, that date is actually coming up. It's pretty cool. December 21st, 1796, they decided to agree that, okay, we'll stop attacking y'all. Y'all just got to promise us, first of all, that y'all not going to deport us. And y'all just going to leave us the fuck alone. Now, the British said what they needed to say to make sure that they had the Jamaican people on a string, but the British had a whole other plan. It was like, okay, we promise, whatever, okay, whatever. But in secret, they already had plans to get these motherfuckers off the land. They didn't know where they was going to send them, but they know they had to get them the fuck away from their other slave people because they not going to stop, and they're very influential. Now, when I just said they didn't know where they was going to send them, I'm not exaggerating. They didn't know where they were going to send them, to the point where after the treaty was agreed upon and that they vowed that they were not going to send them anywhere else and deport them, they loaded them on ships at the dock just to get them out of the land and so that they can have eyes on them 24/7 for a month before setting them sail to North America somewhere for 2 months. It was a point where they were at sea for 26 days before they found out or realized or had any type of notion on where to go. And it was the fucking captain's decision. It was just like, all right, he didn't tell us where we was going, but shit, we're going to have to choose somewhere. It was between New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and the Bahamas. And somewhere in between Sierra Leone was mentioned, but that wasn't an option because it was further away. They were closer to North America. So the captain was just like, all right, fuck it. We Nova Scotia, Canada, it is. Mind you, the governor of Nova Scotia, nobody knew about this. Fuck the governor. King Charles didn't know about this over in Britain. Nobody knew about this, okay? Until they docked at hey, we're here with some 500-600 people. This is going to be the end of part 1. Part 2 is going to be posted. Again, tap the link tree in my bio in the description to give me a follow. If you haven't subscribed already, you probably should do that. What are you waiting for? But thank you for watching.